Welcome back to the OpenAI Associate Developer course. In this lesson, we're diving into the OpenAI images.createVariation API call. This API extends the image generation capabilities by allowing you to create variations of existing images. First, it's important to note that the prompt configuration property is removed from the createVariation call. The prompt is removed because the variations are based on the provided image itself, rather than a prompt. Instead, the AI generates variations to the existing image based on its understanding of the image and not the prompt. It's important to note that the createVariation endpoint is only supported by the dall-e 2 model. This means all the dall-e 2 configuration property restrictions mentioned in previous lessons still apply. For example, the size limitations are the same: 256 by 256, 512 by 512, and 1024 by 1024. So be sure to understand the dall-e 2 limitations so your configurations are set correctly. As mentioned, unlike the OpenAI Images Generate call, where the prompt is central, createVariation uses the image property as its input. This configuration property requires the actual contents of the image file and cannot be a reference or a URL. Therefore, when calling the OpenAI createVariation, if your image is associated with only a URL, you'll need to download the image to get the actual image content read in from a file. This is necessary since the createVariation call expects the image configuration property to be of type uploadable rather than a URL or simple path. This means, if you only have a URL to the image you want to edit, you cannot simply assign a URL directly to the image property. Instead, the image must be read from a file, and the image's content must be provided as a buffer, readable stream, or blob, all of which are of type uploadable. To read our image from a file and get the uploadable object, we'll write a very simple arrow function in our defs file and name it readImageFromFile. The function takes the file name as an argument and simply wraps the fsCreateReadStream method and returns a readable stream. Remember, an fs readable stream is of type uploadable, and we will use this function to read in our image and pass it to the image configuration property. Now that we've seen the implementation of the function, we'll use to read the image file's contents into an uploadable type. Let's now jump back into our code and look at our actual defs.ts file. Here we see our readImageFromFile function on the third line of our defs file. First, since we won't use it when calling the OpenAI's image editing call, we will remove the image prompt variable from our code. Next, we'll replace the prompt property currently in our OpenAI configuration object with the image configuration property, and here set the value as the image file's contents, which we'll read in with the readImageFromFile function. Once that's done, we can go back to our main file and replace the images.generate OpenAI API call with the images.createVariation. Now, when we compile and run our application, you'll see the AI-generated variation of our image. The variation of the image is based on the AI's understanding of the original image. Note, the variation generated comes from the dall-e 2 model. Therefore, if your initial image was generated with the dall-e 3 model, you'll likely notice a quality difference. By understanding these key points, you can effectively utilize the createVariation endpoint to expand your image generation capabilities, creating unique variations of existing images for your projects. In summary, the createVariation API call is currently only supported by the dall-e 2 model, does not use a prompt, but instead generates variations based on the provided image itself. You cannot provide a URL directly to the image property, but must read the image from a file and provide the image's content as an uploadable type. That's all for now. Stay tuned as we continue exploring more advanced features of the OpenAI Image Generation API in our upcoming lessons. Let's keep enhancing our AI-powered applications together.